All right. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai. It's the brother from the Indianapolis branch. We're going to start out by giving all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kakadash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who really teach well. And peace and salutation to you brothers pushing this truth week in, week out in sincerity, charity, and love in the spirit of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. All right. As you can see, the title of this video, things are finna really change up here, a.k.a. Babylon. All right. It's when the video gets to going, you can see the downfall of this place. All right. You can see this kingdom coming to an end. All right. So I want to play the video and bring out a few precepts, and Lord willing, this be edifying unto the body. All right.
All right, guys. So here we got the head of the Port of Los Angeles, and he comes out and he is sounding the alarm. He's warning everybody, hey, dog, what's coming ain't pretty. This is not good. And he's giving us updates on everything that he's seeing firsthand. So let's watch and we'll react.
Just describe for us, let's take a beat, really frame it for us, how much volume has just dropped off in the last few weeks?
Yeah, about a third of the import volume, which means give or take about 50,000 20-foot equivalent units gone off the arrivals coming in next week.
A third. Trade cut by a third in just a week.
Next week is when you expect to see this really hit.
That's correct, and that matches up. The announcement's back on April 2nd, then on April 8th, a little bit of a change on everybody, ex-China, Mexico, Canada, and those arrivals are coming at us this weekend.
We'll, of course, dedicate time to your port, but I'm just wondering how you're anticipating this rolls and ripples through the economy from here, how it hits trucking, when this turns up on the shelf. What's the distance, the time, from when you see a drop-off in volume and when we, as consumers, see the shortages?
Right, so CEOs are telling me, hit the pause button, right? I'm not going to import anymore at these kind of prices. Let's wait and see. I don't know if it's going to be 2 hours, 2 days, or 2 weeks till I get some clarity. Then hiring off the table for right now. Capital investment, pause. And the retailers are telling me that realistically, with even the 10%, I'm going to have to pass it on to the consumers.
So how much is this really coming from all over? It's not just about China. This is about really global trade coming to a standstill until there is a much greater degree of certainty and a much lower tariff rate than even the baseline that's been put out there.
She said global trade coming to a standstill. Also, another important point, the idea that, this is just really affects China and the U.S. She's like, no, because even that 10% tariff rate on many of the other countries and 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, that also greatly impacts trade.
I was last with you all, Lisa. I said global trade's going to slow, economies will follow, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Back in November, so many of us were wringing our hands about 4% inflation. We've just added 10 percentage points. Imports coming out of Southeast Asia for our port, and these unbelievable numbers out of China.
That's such a great point. People were melting down over 4% inflation under Joe Biden, and that had more to do with greedflation and the supply chain being messed up because of COVID, but people were furious over that 4% inflation. Well, now what he's saying is, you just effectively slapped a 10% tax, at least, on everything. And that's coming from the countries that got the easier tariff rate. So what, you think people aren't going to be furious about that? Oh my God. Oh my God. By the way, here's an idea. What if Trump was just told by everybody, like, yeah, we're collecting the tariffs, but they just didn't? Like, I think it's time to start having conversations about creative solutions, because he doesn't fucking know, right? He doesn't know. He's a fucking idiot. If he's being told, we're collecting the tariffs, and then just nobody collects the tariffs, right? Because the reality is, what Trump is doing with the tariffs is massively illegal in the first place. He doesn't have the authority to say, I'm going to declare a national emergency and do universal tariffs. He doesn't have that ability. He just doesn't. Because the law that he's using to justify that has never been used for universal tariffs ever before. And so this is going to go to court. This is going to get slapped down in court. And my suspicion is even MAGA judges are going to slap this down, just like they did with his Alien Enemies Act shit, which we talked about recently. So what's the downside of just basically having nobody collect the tariffs, but you tell him, like, sir, we got all this money coming in, we're collecting the tariffs. He'd be like, great, that's wonderful, that's awesome. Where's my remote? I want to turn on Jesse Waters' show. Where's my remote? I really think that's what should happen. I really think so. Because then he thinks, everything's going great. And meanwhile, people are not getting absolutely crushed, and we're not forcing ourselves into an imminent depression as a result of his stupidity.
We've just added 10 percentage points to imports coming out of Southeast Asia for our port, and these unbelievable numbers out of China.
How much are you going to see a real decline in dock workers if this goes on?
Yeah, this is the question. So the trucker hauling 4 or 5 containers today, next week, she probably hauls 2 or 3. The dock workers are no longer going to see overtime and double shifts. They're going to probably work less than a traditional work week, starting right off the bat. Every 4 containers mean a job. So when we start dialing this back, it's less job opportunity.
That's another super important point. This has cascading impacts on everybody in the economy. Dock workers.
Yeah, as you can see what they were saying. The dock works. It's not going to be any work on the docks. And these are the things that the scriptures speak of. All right, this says this is Ecclesiastes 12:3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong man shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because a few of those that look out the windows to be darkened. All right, the grinding is going to cease here in America. All right, a.k.a. Babylon. All right, and when that grinding ceases, it's not going to be any work. Look at the one that's under it. It says what? The one that's under the video. It says drivers are giving up. Tariffs are empty docks. So hey, this thing is pushing forward, man. All right, and America's finna do a whole 360. Okay, a.k.a. Babylon. All right?
Going to get laid off. Truckers going to get laid off. The ones who stay on don't make nearly as much money because they're not moving as much cargo. And then from there, it's a ripple effect through every single industry, right? Here's one. Crystal brought this up to me the other day, that apparently, what is it, Temu? I think it's Temu or Shein. I think it was Temu. That apparently they make up some absurd percentage of the Google ads, that the Google ad money that's spent, and I forget the number she said. It was like 40%, something like that, like 40%, 50%, somewhere in that realm, which is unbelievable, right? So now they said, we're not doing any more advertising with Google. Okay, boom. Well, there you have it. You guys fund this show from the ground up, so we have our Patreon support, we have our Substack support, but outside of that, I have the default ads on YouTube. That's the exact thing that's going to be hit. So we're looking at could be a 50% reduction in whatever that ad money is. Right? And who am I? I'm just some schmuck who runs his mouth on YouTube. But the point is, if doing this even impacts what I do, what I do has nothing to do.
Kai, as you can see what he's saying, it's just not going to impact the port workers. It's going to impact all workers here, a.k.a. Babylon. All right? Everybody's going to be affected by this. All right?
With dock workers and global trade in some respect. I'm just an asshole who runs his mouth. But as a direct result of that, even this show will be impacted by it, fucking everything is going to be impacted by it. Everything. Anybody who works in retail is going to be massively impacted by it. The economy is just going to grind to a fucking halt. Massive layoffs are going to happen. At the same time, prices skyrocket. Bro, that is stagflation. That is what destroyed Jimmy Carter's presidency. And it could be even worse this time because it's all self-inflicted and the tariff rates are ridiculous. They're higher than the average for fucking Smoot Hawley, which exacerbated the Great Depression.
If we get a deal, it's going to take about a month. Let me walk you through that real quick. About 2 weeks to get the ships repositioned around these major ports, from Qingdao to Shanghai to Xiamen, load up all those containers, and then another 2 weeks to steam across the Pacific to get to us. This is important because now we're talking about spring and summer fashion. So we're kind of at a crux here that we've got to have something pretty quick.
And back to school.
So in other words, even if he were to flip on a dime now where we were to not collect any of the tariffs, right, spring and summer fashion would be hit. And then the other thing is, there's no indication of a deal because the other countries are telling America to fuck off because why wouldn't they? They're just going to make deals with each other and ice us out. So yeah, bro, we could have a fucking Christmas with no presents.
Listen to what he just said. All right? The other countries are going to make a deal with each other and say, forget, a.k.a. Babylon. All right? This goes into this scripture right here. This is Obadiah 1:7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. All right. All right. They plotting to destroy this place, man. Pretty much, man. All right. He's throwing all those terrorists, those other countries are going to come together and do what, man? Come together and, like, say, forget a.k.a. Babylon. All right.
We covered the specifics of this the other day, but most toy stores are small and medium-sized businesses. Well, 50% of them will go out of business if the tariffs stay like they are right now. 50% of them. 50%. China makes like some ridiculously high percentage of the toys that we have in this country. Well, if you effectively embargo trade with China, they're not going to be able to get all of the parts up and running and working to move those factories to other countries and then import them from there, where they will still have a 10% tariff, by the way. Like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Look, it's either that or the arguments about him being some sort of a foreign agent who's purposely just trying to destroy the country. That can be true too, because the way he's acting right now, I don't know the difference, right? It's either the most severe and extreme incompetence of all time, or he's just purposely trying to destroy the country. Because they look the same. Those things look the same.
We have a story out, it was anecdotal reporting as well. We've heard about China quietly starting to exempt about a quarter of U.S. imports. Are any U.S. importers exempting Chinese tariffs? Is there a way to get around the 145%?
Not really. There may be some exceptions, Anne-Marie, maybe a little bit going north or south of us, but realistically speaking, nobody is out there talking a lot about, hey, I got a better deal coming out of China right now.
See, this is where, look, if this was his first term and he tried to do this, I have no doubt that Steve Mnuchin or Gary Cohn or one of the more responsible people in the regime, they would literally go and say, we're not collecting any tariffs. Don't collect any tariffs. I'm going to tell them that we are. And then everything would be fine, right? You'd have a back channel to the other countries, say, hey, China, don't worry. There's no tariffs. We got this asshole under control, etc. Because again, you are well within your rights to do that if Trump's initial order was illegal anyway. If anything, you're saving his ass from breaking the law by doing that, right? And so that's the point. If the president was doing something that was illegal, that was in his authority to do, and then you undermine it free of your own volition, well then, yeah, you run into legal problems and you are in no position to do that whatsoever. But if the president is ordering something that is on its face colossally illegal, as is about to be proven in the court system, well then, save his ass and save the fucking global economy and just tell him we're doing it and don't do it.
CEO joined us earlier in the week and he said ocean freight is down 60% from China. When do we see 100%?
Did you hear that? It's already the case that it's down 60%. It's already the case that trade with China is down 60%.
When do we see 100%?
Good question. It depends on how long this goes. We heard the reports overnight through Bloomberg that the folks in China are thinking about talking. What does that mean? Okay, great, but we've got to get a move on here. The other thing is that retailers are saying we've got about 5 to 7 weeks of normal inventory in the country right now. Then we start to see spot shortages if it goes on much beyond this.
Look, I think the way the market is reacting, the market has been going down. The trend line is down. Having said that, I really think the market is being way too optimistic in this moment because you got a lot of idiots who are trained to always buy the dip, right? So the market goes,
60% is a very good number. You know, I'm going to enter on there because he just gets to talking about any old little thing. But, you know, this place is over with, man. You know, Babylon is done. All right. This is Jeremiah 51 and 7. Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hands that made all the earth drunken. All right, it made all the earth drunken of what their philosophies, their democracy. All right, the way that they do things. All right, their laws. All right, they pushed it on all of the world. All right. The nations have drunk of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. All right, everybody's mad at a.k.a. Babylon right now, man. All right, with this so-called tariff that they're pushing and different things, man. All right, it's affecting the whole world. So it's affecting all the nations, man. All right, this is what's going to happen. All right, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. All right. That balm goes into medicine. All right. All right. This place is going to fall. All right, and people are going to weep and cry and not know what to do. Okay, because this place is going to be totally done for. It's not going to be any work. This was second as the 15th chapter kicks in. Man shall have no nation rise up against nation, not regarding a princess or prince. Roughly paraphrasing. All right. It says, "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let everyone go into his own country. For the judgments reach unto the heavens, and is lifted up even to the skies." All right. This doesn't mean for you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans to flee this place. All right. That's not what that's going into. All right. But you're going to see a lot of these other nations flee back into their own countries. All right. This is why you're going to need your Habashim Yahushai. All right. They talking about the retailers. We get a lot of things that are imported as far as food and goods that are imported from these other countries as well. Okay, so don't think that this is it's all good here. All right, because it's not. And you heard what he said. Things are gonna get worse. All right. So the best thing for you to do, man, is come back to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father while the doors of mercy have not closed. All right. And hey, hopefully the Heavenly Father will forgive you. Hopefully how about somebody else will forgive you, man. All right. Hey, this place is done. All right. A ball.